Every day, thousands of aircraft crisscross the skies above America's heartland, carrying millions of passengers through one of the busiest and most important airports in global aviation. For decades, Chicago O'Hare International Airport has connected cities, continents, and economies with astonishing scale and efficiency. But behind that success, a growing strain has been building. Congestion is worsening, infrastructure is aging, and demand continues to push the system beyond what it was originally designed to handle. Now, a massive multi-billion-dollar transformation promises to redefine its future. But can it truly solve the problems threatening the airport? O'Hare's story begins not as a commercial airport, but as a wartime industrial site. During World War II, the land that now hosts one of the world's busiest airports was known as Orchard Field, home to a major manufacturing plant operated by the Douglas Aircraft Company. Here, thousands of workers produced military transport aircraft for the war effort. When the war ended, the site's vast open land and existing infrastructure presented a unique opportunity. In the mid-1940s, Chicago selected the area for a new airport, and in 1946, Orchard Field Airport officially opened for limited commercial operations, marking the beginning of its transformation from factory complex to civilian airfield. That transformation accelerated quickly in the post-war years. At the time, Chicago's main airport was Midway International Airport, which had once been among the busiest in the world. But as aviation entered the jet age and passenger traffic continued to grow, Midway's limited footprint made expansion increasingly difficult. Chicago began to see far greater long-term potential in Orchard Field, whose vast land area offered room for larger terminals, longer runways, and future growth. In 1949, the airport was renamed in honor of Edward Butch O'Hare, a U.S. Navy aviator and Medal of Honor recipient. From that point on, O'Hare increasingly emerged as the city's aviation future. Through the 1950s and 1960s, O'Hare expanded rapidly. New terminals were constructed, airlines shifted operations, and passenger numbers surged. By the early jet age, it had firmly established itself as Chicago's primary airport. Its rise was not gradual, it was explosive. Within a few decades, O'Hare had become one of the busiest airports in the world, setting the stage for its later role as a global aviation hub. Before we continue, don't forget to click on that subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support this channel. What truly set O'Hare apart was its location. Positioned near the geographic center of the United States, it offered airlines an ideal connecting point between the East Coast and West Coast, as well as between North America and the rest of the world. This strategic advantage transformed O'Hare into a critical hub for domestic and international travel. Major airlines recognized this potential early. Both United Airlines and American Airlines established large hub operations at O'Hare, operating hundreds of daily flights. This hub and spoke model allowed passengers from smaller cities to connect through Chicago to destinations across the globe. As a result, a significant portion of O'Hare's traffic has always consisted of connecting passengers, reinforcing its role as a central node in the global aviation network. Beyond passenger travel, O'Hare also became a major cargo gateway. Its connectivity and location made it ideal for moving goods quickly across North America and internationally. Freight carriers such as FedEx and UPS rely heavily on O'Hare's infrastructure, transporting everything from electronics and pharmaceuticals to fresh food. The airport's economic impact extends far beyond aviation, supporting tens of thousands of jobs and contributing billions of dollars to the regional economy. At its peak before the COVID-19 pandemic, O'Hare handled more than 80 million passengers annually and hundreds of thousands of aircraft movements through its 4 passenger terminals. It remained one of the busiest airports in the world and is now the world's busiest airport for takeoffs and landings. But as demand continued to grow, cracks in the system began to appear. The very factors that made O'Hare successful, its location, connectivity, and airline hubs, also created mounting pressure on its infrastructure. Passenger numbers grew faster than the airport's terminals could handle. Gate areas became increasingly crowded, security lines stretched longer, and delays became more frequent. During peak periods, the airport struggled to operate efficiently, with congestion affecting both passengers and aircraft. One of the most significant challenges came from its original runway design. For decades, O'Hare operated with a system of intersecting runways, a layout that limited capacity and created operational bottlenecks. Aircraft often had to wait for others to cross active runways, leading to delays that could ripple across the entire national airspace system, especially during bad weather. Chicago's climate only amplified these issues. Snowstorms, thunderstorms, and dense fog frequently disrupted operations, turning minor delays into major disruptions. As traffic continued to increase, it became clear that the airport's infrastructure was no longer keeping pace with demand. To address this, the city launched the O'Hare Modernization Program. Announced in 2001, with construction beginning in 2005, the project unfolded over the next 16 years, as O'Hare's intersecting runways were gradually replaced by a more efficient system of parallel east-west runways, improving capacity, reliability, and overall performance. When the program's final phase was completed in 2021, it marked a major milestone in the airport's evolution, allowing O'Hare to handle more flights with far greater efficiency. However, while the airfield had been transformed, another problem remained unresolved. The terminals themselves, many built decades earlier, were aging and increasingly inadequate for modern travel. The bottleneck had shifted. Instead of delays on the runways, the pressure was now inside the terminals. Recognizing the need for a comprehensive solution, Chicago launched one of the most ambitious airport redevelopment programs in the United States, O'Hare 21. This initiative is not simply an expansion, it is a complete reimagining of how the airport functions. At the center of the plan is the construction of a new global terminal, which will replace the aging Terminal 2. Designed to serve both domestic and international flights, the new terminal aims to eliminate the traditional separation between the two, creating a more seamless travel experience. Larger gate areas, modern security checkpoints, advanced baggage systems, and improved passenger amenities are all part of the vision. In addition to the global terminal, the project includes the construction of 2 new satellite concourses. These facilities will add dozens of gates, allowing the airport to accommodate more flights and larger aircraft. The expanded layout will also provide greater flexibility for airlines, improving operational efficiency. Sustainability and design are key components of the redevelopment. The new facilities are being planned with energy efficiency in mind, incorporating natural lighting, modern materials, and environmentally friendly systems. The goal is not only to increase capacity, but to create a world-class airport that reflects the scale and importance of Chicago as a global city. The cost of this transformation reflects its ambition. When first announced in 2018, the O'Hare 21 program was estimated at around $8.5 billion. Since then, as the scope has expanded and construction costs have risen, the broader capital program has grown to exceed $12 billion. This includes not only the new terminal and concourses, but also supporting infrastructure, utilities, and airfield improvements. Funding comes from a combination of airport revenues, airline agreements, and financing mechanisms such as bonds, making it one of the largest aviation investments in the country. Yet designing such a project is only part of the challenge. Building it presents an even greater test. Reconstructing a major airport is complex under any circumstances. Doing so while it remains one of the busiest airports in the world adds an entirely different level of difficulty. Every day, hundreds of thousands of passengers and thousands of flights depend on O'Hare's continued operation. Shutting it down, even partially, is not an option. Construction must therefore take place in carefully planned phases. Early work has focused on relocating utilities, preparing sites, and making room for new structures. Eventually, the demolition of existing facilities, including Terminal 2, will make way for the new global terminal. The timeline of the project reflects its scale. Announced in 2018, O'Hare 21 moved through planning, design competitions, and negotiations with airlines before construction began in 2020 with early enabling work. Since then, the redevelopment has advanced in phases, with major construction expected to continue through the late 2020s. The new global terminal is anticipated to open in the early 2030s, while the broader redevelopment program, including additional concourses and supporting infrastructure, is likely to extend into the mid-2030s. Keeping O'Hare fully operational during construction remains one of the project's biggest challenges. Temporary facilities, rerouted passenger flows, and shifting airline operations are needed to keep the airport functioning, while rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and labor shortages continue to pose risks. As with many major infrastructure projects, delays and budget increases remain a constant concern. Even so, the redevelopment continues to move forward, reflecting how critical O'Hare's long-term competitiveness is to Chicago and global aviation. When completed, the transformation of O'Hare will redefine the airport for a new generation of travelers. Increased capacity, improved efficiency, and a modern passenger experience will allow it to handle growing demand while maintaining its role as a major international gateway. The integration of domestic and international operations, along with expanded gate capacity, will make connections faster and more efficient. More importantly, the project will help secure Chicago's position as one of the world's leading aviation hubs. O'Hare has reinvented itself before, evolving from a wartime manufacturing site into one of the busiest airports on Earth. Now, it faces another defining transformation, one that could determine whether Chicago remains at the center of global aviation for decades to come.